All right. Well, if you saw me waving that towel there, that was the towel of an event that I went to. Of course, here comes the delay, so you guys are about to hear me finally. But that was my LAFC rally towel. LAFC is one of the newer teams in Major League Soccer. In their third season of play right now, and I've been a fan from even before they even had players. It was so cool, and the culture around the game is so amazing. And anyways, yesterday, one of the few sports that we have right now going on in the U.S. is Major League Soccer, and of course there was some Major League Baseball. I don't know if some of you saw those like scrimmages or summer camp games that they were having at the stadium. Pretty good games. But Major League Soccer is really cool because they're really a very progressive sport. They're really looking forward into the future as to what sports will look like, as to what the U.S. will look like, as to what people in America will look like and what they'll like, and how that evolves sports in America. It'll change what sports in America looks like. And soccer is definitely one of those emerging sports. So it's really fun to have something to go. Timmy says, go Sounders. So Sounders were the MLS champions, unfortunately, last year. And they knocked out my team, LAFC. But LAFC, one of the newest teams in the league, beat the Galaxy yesterday 6-2. It was so good to have that feeling of watching a game again and to just be able to enjoy sports again and just also just feel like the world is normal-ish in a way. And it really did. It was interesting because I watched LAFC's first game was on Fox Sports, and they were piping in crowd noise, which included some of our noise. And by our, I mean the fan union of the LAFC, which is the 3252, which I'm a member of as well. And we jump around in the North End, and we make a lot of noise, and we sing all these cheers, and it's a very coordinated effort. I don't know, a lot of you will never understand probably just how crazy fans are, but then when you get to this level, even the coordination of fans at the soccer level, especially MLS, especially our club, we do it the best. I'm sorry, we are the best, LAFC. I know we have a lot of. It was the fans of other teams that actually attracted me to wanting to be a part of the MLS, and I just never was really drawn to Galaxy. And it's not against the Galaxy won a lot of championships, whatever. They definitely have a history, so it's nice to be a part of a new history, and that is with LAFC because. Only the third season. I got to be there for the very, very first game, and this is one of my adventures. So at Hawaii Sports Fans, Hawaii Sports Fans is a really expression of what I love to do, which is go on a lot of sports adventures and go to games, and going to Seattle, one of my favorite sports cities for sure. LAFC played the Sounders in their first ever game, March of 2018, and I got to be there, and they won 1-0. We won 1-0 LAFC. Diego Rossi, he scored the goal, and we made a song about him. And yesterday against the Galaxy, he scored 4 goals. So he set a club record, 4 goals. So anyways, that's all I'm going to talk about that. But I'm very happy, and I think that's, when I talk about everything in this show, the new stadium, any issue, that topic that relates to Hawaii, I'm talking about on a global scale as well, contextually, just via all of the places that I've been to. All 4 tennis majors. I've been to Wimbledon. I went to Australian Open. I went to French Open. I went to Australia and got to see Serena play Venus, 2 of my favorite tennis players. And this is an amazing world that we live in of sports, and America, I think we do it really well, probably the best, America. But that's right now with the way the pandemic is going and the way America is handling it. I don't know about sports, and that'll be the segue as we talk about the NFL, and we talk about why the NFL is, or why you've seen a lot of tweets today. I saw my favorite player, Aaron Donald. Of course, I'm a Chiefs fan. I'm a I'm a Mahomes guy. I've loved Mahomes since college, since Texas Tech. He got drafted, and Mahomes and Aaron Donald's my boy. But Aaron Donald's my favorite player because he just loves that guy and the way that he plays on the line. So amazing for the Rams, and he even tweeted out, we want to play and we want to make sure the safe conditions. So I was like, wow, one of the best players in the league, right? A 99 Madden rating for Aaron Donald, and of course Patrick Mahomes now. Who else has a Madden rating? Stephon Gilmore has one, and somebody else. If you know who else has the other 99 Madden rating, because that was something that I brought up today. Then we can talk about that, but. Anyways, I can talk about LAFC all day because it's so amazing and a good feeling to beat your rival, the LAFC beating Galaxy. So, anyways, talked about MLS. I wanted to get that out of the way because that is a bubble that is working. That is how professional sports. Oh, Michael Thomas. There you go. Thanks, Timmy. Michael Thomas has 99 rating. Michael Thomas, definitely one of the best players in the NFL for New Orleans Saints. But when we talk about moving forward with the leagues, MLS chose to do this in a bubble, which is great. The Major League Baseball is not so great in a bubble. I don't know how it's going to work, but Major League Baseball is going to push forward with this, traveling to different cities. They're going to try and keep them coastal at least, but we'll see how long that goes. The NBA is already people are in the bubble, people leaving the bubble. Zion had to leave the bubble for some issue with his family, so hopefully all is well there. I haven't seen the follow-up, but keeping that that zone sanitized, that area, just minimizing the risk of being infected is a really difficult thing to do, just to minimize it, right? Just to mitigate any kind of issues of people coming in and out. Even like a few people just breaking the bubble could affect everything. So, and we know that already. So, with that being said, the NFL is now starting to get real because the rookies are supposed to report tomorrow, and the players are saying now that their demands are not being met. And let's go over some of those demands. Actually, I was just reading some of them because before the end of the players, so basically this hashtag that's trending on social media, Aaron Donald, a major player, Drew Brees even, and Drew Brees, I got to give it to him, yes, for jumping on board, and I think that's important. This is the awakening, of the players as labor, and of them being able to. Oops, I didn't ask you anything, Siri. She probably thought I asked about Drew Brees, but I swear I didn't, because Drew Brees is doing a lot of good things now. She's probably saying, remember what you said about Drew Brees. So I did say a few things about Drew Brees before, but he definitely proved himself and the way that he bounced back from that. So, the NBA they have the NBA hotline where players can tattle on other players if they leave the bubble, and the snitching thing. So, there's a lot of issues there already, right? But now the NFL's like saying, okay, it's our turn. Now we had all of this time, right? When we first went into lockdown, at least in Los Angeles, it was March 15th. In Hawaii, we went in about a week later, a week or so, a week and a half later. We were like, well, as long as we have football season, so far away from now. I can't even see football season, it's so far away. But it's literally like soon, like tomorrow for rookies, and next month, or soon when they want to kick off preseason games. So the players are saying they don't want any preseason games, right? They want no preseason games. And they also want a ramp-up period, which would include 21 days of strength and conditioning, 10 days of non-padded practices, and 14 days of contact acclimation. That is a month and a half right there, like 6 weeks. So plugging that in, and the NFL apparently came back and ignored most of those things. And so with the negotiations up in the air, and with players being more willing to hold out, I mean, let's face it, yes, we can jump on Ezekiel Elliott, we can jump on Le'Veon Bell, we can jump on, a lot of players who held out, a lot of players who decided that they were worth more. And it is what it is. The franchise, and talking about Dak Prescott also wasn't able to, get his contract, his long-term contract, so he's going to play under the franchise tag and still make a lot of money. I think like $31 million or something. And those were all things that franchise tag was built into the collective bargaining agreements prior, right? So I think the players are starting to get used to, the fact that things affect them. And I talked about this with my own union, right? The Screen Actors Guild. We have a vote on a contract coming up as well. There's a lot of misinformation. There, both sides maybe. Information, both sides, a yes or no, and that comes to a ratification of a contract by our union as well, by actors. But now that we are in the crises that we're in, we have to look at these contracts particularly closely, and within the context of, the fact that we don't really know when this is all going to end. So I think it's really important that we honor what the players are saying, because this is the new guard. This is not, players are going to just be more aggressive and more verbal and more just willing to get into the faces of their own of the owners, and particularly white players, and the ones that are like Drew Brees and J.J. Watt and the best in the league, because during the Black Lives Matter, particularly with starting with Colin Kaepernick, obviously, but just how as it's grown, of course, allies have been picked up along the way. There have been lots of allies. Howie Long's son, oh my gosh, what's his first name? Chris. He's a great ally, and a lot of people, right? So they had a lot of white allies to the Black Lives Matter movement. And that was really important, right, to have the strength of the numbers and the strength of whether you feel like talking about race is difficult. It was difficult, and it still is for a lot of people, but that's changed. So especially for Drew Brees, now that he was challenged on it particularly, right? And even talking about any history, right? We all are being challenged now on what we know and how it pertains to the circumstances we're living in right now, and why that is important for us to, evolve from this, change from this. So I think the players, particularly, just like the NBA players, are waking up. The NBA players are extremely aware of their contract situations, and I think they have a commissioner, Adam Silver, who's extremely progressive-minded. There's a guy that marches in pride parades and makes sure that he puts his from the very beginning, when he really had no capital yet, he banned Donald Sterling for life, and deservedly so. When Donald Sterling, when he owned the Clippers and made those comments to his girlfriend about black players or black people and whatever she was doing with them, but that was a huge statement even then. And when you bring it to today, that's how we get to these places. It starts with these parts. It starts with these decisions that were made by men who probably had to take some slack for them. But now, look where they are. And I think the NBA is a great example of that. So I think the NFL, they really are trying to get a voice again. And it says something when you have J.J. Watt and Drew Brees and, Mahomes, obviously, and Aaron Rodgers, a new guard, the new faces of the NFL. Saying we want to play and hashtagging we want to play, and demanding that their voice be heard in the conversation. I'm gonna look at the comments, and Aaron Sakai said him banning Sterling early on set the tone. Absolutely, and that is exactly right. When Adam Silver banned Donald Sterling, he knew that was his decision. He was gonna live or die on that decision, because that was gonna set the pace. And look at that now. Looking back, I mean, I think the decision, with the time and with the context that we're living in today, has proven that he did the right thing. And I think those are difficult decisions that need to be made by men in power, and it's really difficult when it feels like societal tide is against you, but now the tides have changed. Really, the tides have really changed. We're living in a new day, and we're living in a new time for human beings, let alone sports fans. So staying in the sports realm, the NFL players are having difficulty reconciling the fact that, you know, our numbers are continuing to go up. And let's go back to misinformation and people, you know, either not believing in the virus completely, or having, you know, any kind of, it's just been difficult because people, you ask somebody something, right, and everybody has different answers as to what they believe. But listen to professionals. That's why Dr. Fauci has been around for a long time. The administration doing that. Epidemiology. It's a difficult thing. Got to go to college for a really long time. Be really smart. But that's why we have science. So, but with that being said, I think that this pandemic has exposed a lot in terms of the rifts in society and the rifts in every part. And the NBA and the NFL are a stage on a platform where they can tackle these issues at a level that we can't, because they're all making money. Their labor is making still significantly less than the ownership. The ownership is very wealthy. Don't worry about owners of any NFL. And that's why I said I would aspire to be an owner. I would love to be an owner of a team. It'd be so fun. I would have so many cool things, like probably water slides, probably pools, probably like a beach area, probably like a wave pool. Yeah, and one end zone. Wouldn't that be cool? All the things I like, and like bands playing. Anyways, that's what I would do if I was an owner of a team. And I think like I could also save money, significant money, by doing those things. But I think the NFL is at a place right now where this is we don't know where we're headed. The pandemic has awakened a lot of professional athletes to a sense of their platform and their ability to express themselves, and alleviating some of that fear that a lot of them have, or that apprehension of sharing things on social media because they don't want to be perceived in a certain way, or they don't want to, you know, let people down. A lot of us are that way, right? If anybody has a platform and you feel like you're using it in an effective way, you get afraid of whether, you know, what you say, right? So that's why when Drew Brees, I think, originally said what he said, which doesn't matter anymore, because I think what he's doing is showing that he's definitely evolved from that. But you can't say those things, right? What he said, just can't. And especially the tone, hearing the tone. When people say you're tone deaf, you're not hearing where, you're not feeling the tide that's pushing, or where we're going, right? And I think the tide is pulling us in a certain direction, definitely for players to be more outspoken, for players to demand safeguards, because we know that there are a lot of inherent risks in playing sports, especially football, especially the contact there. In basketball, the risk of face-to-face contact right now in the pandemic, or in football as well. I mean, that's the difficulty. That's the challenges that are going to present the leagues on the field, let alone us in the stands. So, I mean, that's a harder part, right? Like, you think about the stands and wanting to be there at the game, but, you know, I don't know. It could be a little bit. It could be a little while till we get back there. Hopefully, we get to another trip. Hawaii sports fans, that's what we do. We take people on great trips. 5 Super Bowls already. Looking for number 6 in Tampa. So you can come with me in Tampa. I think by then, if the Super Bowl is on time, I'm going to put it out right now. You know, let me know if you want to be there, Super Bowl, because we're going to go. I see Joanna just logged on to watch, and Joanna went to the first Super Bowl tour of Hawaii sports fans. She's a Patriots fan, and she was there to scream in my ear when a certain interception was thrown on the goal line by Russell Wilson for the Patriots to beat the Seahawks. So she knows how fun it is to go to the Super Bowl. It's so fun, and something I really look forward to. It's something I aspired to, I think, really as a kid, but never thought I would go to even one. And going to one was amazing, and going to 5, you would think I'd just get used to it, but it's not. It's always great. I love it every time I go to a city. I love being there. I love eating the food. Like this past year, we were in Miami. I made sure we got a lot of Cuban food. Went to Calle Ocho, and we ate some really delicious empanadas, which I love empanadas, so good. And, you know, we like to do those kind of things on Hawaii Sports Fans. I take people, we eat a lot of places. We go to eat Vietnamese food. Like we went to Seattle, we ate pho, Diang pho, and got to speak Vietnamese with and introduce people to the immigrants that they are behind some of the food, some of the great food that we eat, some of the places that we go. There's always a story there, and that's what Hawaii Sports Fans is about, right? Telling that story. And I think that, you know, when I think about stories, and I think about like our trips to Wrigley Field, and I think about trips to Fenway Park, and all these places that have real legends that have placed there, and people that have or events that have really left their mark. So when you go there, you feel those you feel that energy again. So will we have that energy in NFL again? I'm not sure. It's gonna be hard. Sean says, well, Sean had the angry face, which I don't blame him. So, the Seahawks get talked up a lot on this shows, on this station. So I don't feel bad because Seattle is also one of my favorite cities, obviously. And I went to 2 NFC championships there, 2 great games of Seattle's history, and I have a lot of respect for the franchise. But that play will definitely be a thorn in the side of Seahawks fans forever. So I don't wish that play probably on a lot of people. But you got to balance the good and the bad, right? So lots of good for the Seahawks and for Seahawks fans. And of course, we had the great John Ursua, UH great, and a real legend. And what he'll do is, I think, impress a lot of people in Seattle. So we're excited about them, John and the rest of, the other Hawaii products that are in the NFL. We hope to see them playing soon. But Sean says Glendale is the house of horrors for Seahawks, lost the whole Legion of Boom and the Super Bowl in that field. That's true. Timmy says T-Mobile Park has done so well with the diversity of food options they have now. I agree. And a lot of, LA, as bad as the Coliseum was to watch Rams games, the food was amazing. Oh my gosh, so much good food. And what they did was not only put really good local vendors in there and really good food, but had a whole area for food trucks. And it was so good, so good. I'm so glad I don't have to go back to LA Coliseum, though. Never again. Unless UH plays USC or something. But yeah, T-Mobile Park does. And I want to bring up T-Mobile Park. Another segue into a small kind of commercial for Hawaii sports fans. But as Kareen Sasaki, who just joined to watch as well, who was there, when we were in Seattle and went to a great game, but even a better sweet experience and ate some good food, including some market fresh sushi. So you want to get that local flavor. That's what I like to do, right? When I go to Fenway Park, Joanna was there with her other friends, and we went to watch the Red Sox play the O's, but we ate some lobster rolls, and we got some clams, and we got a lot of great New England fare before we got into the game. So that's a part of the whole experience, and that's why sports will be missed as well. It's that fan experience. It's something that is really important to me and important to the essence of what this company is. This is not just somebody that takes people on tours and we just go this is stuff that I think about. It's, stuff I obsess over is going to a game and having fun and eating good food and being with my friends and my family and just making memories. Those are really valuable and special rewards that you get from traveling and going on these experiences, and definitely going with me. We did about 20 tours so far. Last count, I think, maybe 19, 18, I'm not sure. So a lot, almost around there. Probably 20. And of course, Timmy says the crickets are the grasshoppers. So, which are different. So you get yelled at a lot, but that's something that you can't get, that fan experience when the game is on the field. So hopefully we do have the game to watch. Watching the baseball games was okay. It's kind of weird without. I guess baseball games are kind of quiet anyways. So I guess it's not as weird, but it just doesn't seem like the players. And of course they're just warming up. They're getting back into pace. So, but it feels like even less energy than spring training. It just feels like kind of going through motions. But that's just. Who knows? What would it be like to go back and be on the field and be involved in all of these, news stories about how you trying to take pay cuts or don't want to take your pay cut, or there's all these negotiations that hover around whether players get back on the field, and with statements as well. Now players are negotiating their political views into, right? So MLS and the Black Lives Matter and their commitment there, and NBA as well, and players like I think. Was it Kyle Korver who said he's going to wear Black Lives Matter on his jersey as well? So I thought that was really cool. And this is just a good time to see athletes use their platform. So there's a lot of good in the world. I know it's really hard. This pandemic, like I said, to be able to watch the game yesterday, the LAFC game against Galaxy was cool because it brought some normalcy. But it's hard because the fall is really not looking good for sports. Let alone going into the games, but for sports in general. The Atlantic 10 conference on Friday said that it was going to postpone competition of fall sports until spring sports because of the pandemic. But they're going to check on in mid-September to see where they are. So, a lot of these conferences that are waiting to kind of go and see, where they're going to be in, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's hard to tell, but I can tell you the projections don't look very good if you want to go and check, science data right now. Go to the CDC website or something to get data, but it's not looking good. And, people are going to, there'll be decisions that'll be made soon as well. But the NFL is saying they want to play. The players want to play. They want to be there for us, the fans, even though we can't be there. Even though I'm kind of sad about that a little bit right now. But who knows? Who knows? Not looking great, but who knows? But I think that's that experience, that Hawaii sports fans experience, which I alluded to earlier, of what we do and what I like to do, is share that enthusiasm that I have for traveling and for going to games and for being in the stands and just for just being in the game and walking around. And when I just look back on all the places that I've been and going to the NBA Finals and World Series and, like I said, tennis majors, Kentucky Derby, that was a crazy experience for me. And having the horses pass me, that was a rush of energy, really, at the finish line. And I got to stand right there in my seersucker jacket and in the rain, because it rains so much in Louisville too. So anyways, Kaveh has a question. He says, "Hey Wayne, when college football starts, are you hosting the watch parties?" Maybe I have to maybe we can do some watch parties. We'll see. If we can, if college football does start, I'd love to do some Hawaii Sports Channel's watch parties, wherever we are, in California, in Hawaii, in Australia, with Michelle on her farm. Wherever we are, I'm sure it'll be fun. Sean says Robert Morris in September, yes. More like a guy named Robert Morris will try to get on a plane and not quarantine and then come in September. I don't know. Because I don't know how any of these teams are going to end up playing right now. I know the conferences, like the conference that I have been a part of, the Division II conference, in many capacity, the Pac-West conference. Some of you would know, as I host Pac-West TV, Pac-West Magazine, which was on OC16, I did that for a lot of years. So my experience within the conference tells me that there are a lot of university presidents really sweating this one out and wondering what they're going to do, and not trying their hardest to please everyone. That's really the hardest thing that a lot of them are trying to do. And by please everyone, I mean most of the people that are going to make money off of this, because that's what it's getting reduced to. Let's be honest. And because of course everybody wants to play. Of course, everyone wants to play. Kids want to play, but there are a lot of people too that have really, somebody who watches this show frequently, a friend of mine, who contracted the virus and warned me even last week after I got off the show, called me and talked to me and talked about just how this person felt like they were going to die, legit. And it kind of, brought me back to the reality that this is something that's serious and that there are bigger things than football. So as much as I love football, as much as I want to be there at all the games, I have a ton of memories too to look back on, but also new challenges and new experiences to be made. So I think, like watching MLS yesterday, watching the Galaxy and LAFC, my team, the best team in LA, the only team in LA, play. I realized just how much of an effect, even for me, having sports back has been, right? Like, I was, so desensitized sometimes, and I honestly, I'm not. I still feel new experiences. Like every time I go somewhere, I'm like, wow, this is so cool. Wow, this is so cool. And it's just the gratitude of being in a different place and experiencing the game, and that happens when you go to all these places. And even in Aloha Stadium, don't always think of it just this rust bucket. I have gratitude for all the memories that it holds and all the fun that it has and all the spirits of our dearly departed that still are in the stands there cheering on the Bows and being there for all the games, because that's a special part of the stadiums as well. And Sean says baseball this week. That's right, we have opening day this week, and we'll see how that goes. We'll see how the opening day, because opening festivities, we'll see how they go. I would think so MLS, they start their games also when the national anthem, all the players, they can do fist, or they all kneel for, I don't know how long it is, 10 seconds. And so that's a way of saying, okay, everybody wants to show a lot of people want to do something, make a statement. So doing something coordinated is better. It just keeps the message going, and keeps it positive. So we'll see what MLB does. I don't know. I don't know if they will. So we'll see. Timmy says I miss live concerts too. Yes, I miss live concerts too as well. So this is around time you get Meja Reja or something else at the Shell or something, where I don't know. It's like crazy to like look back on photos and like stuff, going to concerts and games and being like, I don't know when this is ever gonna happen again. I mean, it's frustrating if you were watching on ESPN as well. The rugby league, Super Rugby League there is playing, and they like have their stands packed, and it's like normal there, like normal, like normal, like crazy. Like they're so far from that, and that's just shows just what kind of strong leadership they had, and how decisive and quick they acted, which are really important qualities of leader, which I learned in JROTC. But you know, I think it's really incumbent on all of us as fans to set aside what we want, which is to be in the games and be doing the same exact things that we've always done, and set that aside and just understand the situation and be able to accept it in whatever it is, whatever form, right? If we can get something, if we can get some kind of season on the field and we have to watch it, you know, in March we were saying, no way, I would never want that. Like, that would be so junk. Like, no, that would be so terrible. But, you know, I would like that if it was possible to keep players safe. But you just never know, because even if the virus doesn't affect you, it could affect somebody really badly. Even people that never expected it. And the person that called me never expected this to happen too. But it's really scary listening to people. And I know 2 people from college. I know a guy that did the statistics for my team, the stats guy. He passed away. And also one of my, a girl a year below me in college, she also passed away. So I had friends in the hospital, following somebody now who's here in the hospital, and a very healthy person, personal trainer who's going through it. So, you know, it's scary. 2 games on Thursday, Sean says. Timmy says Mariners World Series champs, and I was surprised actually that the Mariners. I mean I knew that they had never won a World Series, but it's weird now that the Nationals are not in that category anymore, right? Of teams that have not won a World Series. The Mariners are still there, and it's like amazing with all the great teams they had, all the great players that came through there. Like Ken Griffey Jr., one of the greatest ever. A-Rod, Randy Johnson, Edgar Martinez. I mean, some of the greats played, you know, for Seattle. Ichiro, obviously. Ichiro, one of the greatest. Love Ichiro. And it's, you know, it's crazy that the Mariners never won. Even that year when they had all those 110 game wins, and you know, didn't get out of the wild card, was it? You know, it's pain. So Seahawks still got that Super Bowl. So you still got good stuff in Seattle. I did lose the basketball team, but hopefully that one comes back. Oh, and the NHL team is coming too. So Seattle has a lot still coming for it. Sean says a lot of people talking about Yankees, and yeah, obviously you have somebody like Aaron Judge, one of the good players, but they have everything, because you know my team, the Angels, have the best player, Mike Trout, no doubt. Already stats better than people in the Hall of Fame. Most of them in the Hall of Fame right now. I don't even think he's halfway through his career yet. Not even halfway. So that's just amazing. Timmy says 116 wins and then losing the wild card to the Indians. Yeah. Well, fun park. We say going to Seattle, going to CenturyLink, going to T-Mobile, and here at Hawaii Sports Fans, that's where we're trying to check off all the good parks, all the places we go. Hey, I want to tell me, since we're talking about parks, let me know what your favorite park is too, or you'd like to attend, and we'll talk about that place. But I'll go back. So 5 more college conferences canceled some sports this past week. So the Ivy League, right, they are one of the first that announced, and people are like, oh no, the Ivy League is kind of, premature. That they did it before with the basketball, but then the A10, and then you have a Commonwealth Conference. So you have a few more. Northeast Athletic Conference, their 8-member institutions would not participate in intercollegiate competition during fall 2020 season. So ECC, the Division II Conference, CAA, voted to suspend conference football competition in the fall of 2020 due to continued concerns with the pandemic. So, and Big East Conference updated plans for 6 2020 fall sports. So it did not cancel any sports outright, but it did limit them to interconference competitions. So if you play men's or women's cross country, field hockey, men's or women's soccer, or volleyball, you will not have, in the Big East, you're not going to have any non-conference games. So, even keeping it interconference, that just, I don't know. I mean, it lessens the exposure, I guess. Yes, it doesn't minimize it. It lessens the exposure, I guess, that players will have to potentially contacting or someone that's infected with the virus, which we know more people will be affected. And then, we might have another start-stop. And we talked to Paul Honda. If you go back and watch that interview, Paul Honda from Star Advertiser talking about prep sports and, the possibility, he gave the scenario. A kid's mom works in the hotel, gets the virus from a tourist, gives it to her kid who plays football, it spreads it. Something simple like that can start and stop the entire conference, just like PAL already. Okay, we started and we try and go, and that's the thing that's kind of just scary. Of course we want it to happen. Of course we do. But the start-stopping thing might not work. It might work for the NFL, and they've kind of built in some parts into their schedule that would allow for them to start and stop over again, but I'm not sure if it will. All right, Timmy says, baseball, Old Yankee Stadium. Yes. And you know what? I went to college so close to that. Not super close, but up the river. Not super far, maybe about 65 miles north. And I never went to Old Yankee Stadium, so that's something I definitely regret. So I just like walking in that area outside the current Yankee Stadium 2.0, as I like to call it. And there's like a place where they show where the original home plate was, and they have a park there in the Bronx. The Bronx, yo. We stayed in the Bronx, actually, the Hawaii sports fans. I'm gonna turn everything into a schmucking commercial since it's like the middle of July. And some of you watching are like, what is Hawaii sports fans? Like, cool. I started taking people on tours. Experiences, though. We go on sports experiences, handcrafted experiences from my crazy mind that wants to do all these crazy things, like fly from Hawaii to Ohio to Dallas to San Fran and go back to Hawaii and do one huge game at Ohio State, Hawaii versus Ohio State, and then go down to Dallas and watch the Sunday night game to open the season in Dallas, and watch the Cowboys. You can go watch a clip of that game that's on the Hawaii Sports Fans channel as well. A Romo to Jason Witten touchdown in the final minutes. This is after Eli Manning instead of taking a sack and running time off because the Giants are winning the game, he threw this, doing a very Eli thing, where it's just like one way or the other, and didn't throw the ball, or threw the ball out of bounds, so it stopped the clock, gave the Cowboys enough time, and they won the game. So that clip is there on the Hawaii Sports Fans page as well. But and then we went to watch the 49ers on Monday Night Football before going home. So that's the kind of things we like to do a bunch of really fun things. And when you live in Hawaii and you grow up here and you're being on this island, you think, wow, what would it be like to be somewhere where there are stadiums and where there are teams and pro teams, and man, if I could be there, I'd go to games all the time. So now, when I got older, that's what I do now, go to a lot of games. So, but Old Yankee Stadium, I missed out on that one. So, Timmy says college football, probably the Big House, and I got to go there as well and see UH play Michigan. And by play, I mean get an interception, get a field goal, and that was awesome. They should have just ended the game right there. Just like lightning bolt should have just crashed on the field. They'd be like, okay, it's 3-0, it's over, Hawaii wins. But that didn't happen, and then Michigan went on to score 63 unanswered points. 63-3. But then we went to Wrigley Field after and watched. Aroldis Chapman was closing for the Cubs, and the Cubs, we got to watch them play Giants. Was it Giants we watched them play? Yeah, we watched them play Giants. That was fun. Aroldis Chapman, and then they sang the Cubs Go song after they won, and they raised us. Fun traditions. That's why going on trips is so fun, because you get to go to all these stadiums and you get to experience all these traditions. Sean says 2001 was when they tied the regular season record. Yeah, talking about the Mariners. And when he says for stadium, college, Notre Dame, and college, that's a good one. And when we went on our way from Michigan, back to that trip, when UH played Michigan, I took a group and we drove from Michigan to Wrigley Field. We stopped in South Bend and we stayed there even in South Bend. It was crazy. It's like a farm. It's like a farm. It's like a giant farm. That's what South Bend, Indiana is like. Actually, Indiana in general is kind of like a big farm. But also more than that as well. But we won't go into that. But South Bend is super fun, and you get to, or the campus at least is super fun. I don't know about the town, but the campus is cool because, you know, to see like Touchdown Jesus and to see the stadium and the aura around it is really something to experience. And just walking around it was cool. So hopefully UH plays there. That would be a fun game. That would be great. And that was, again, we talked about, somebody said on the show, right, that would be the game that they'd like to go to, a place that they'd like to see UH plays at Notre Dame. So I think that would be a fun place to go to as well. And Pro Lambeau Field, definitely. And if you go watch one of my Friday flashbacks on Hawaii Sports Fans page, you'll see our trip to Lambeau and how fun that was, and eating a hamburger that had a stick of margarine cooked into the middle of it. It was actually really good. But if you're on like cholesterol medication, probably not something that you want to risk. But it was just a slice of Americana, and and that's the part of the experience that I'm talking about, right? I go back to that food a lot, right? Because our memories tie to food a lot, and I know Timmy agrees with this because as a chef that he is. A lot of what our memories of a place or the love that comes from people is put into that art and that food, and wherever we go, we like to try new things. So I can name all kinds of places. Going to a brunch in Southie, Boston, was an amazing place. On one trip in New York, we were in the Catskill Mountains, and we went to a brewery in the middle of the Catskills. I mean, just really cool places that we've been that, really make me very grateful for all the things, all the places, all the difficulties keeping Hawaii Sports Fans above water, but just all the great memories. And that's why I can refer to the memories. This is what I want to give to people. That's why this is a service that I provide, is because it's so fun, and you won't regret it. Sean said the Great Midwest, yes. Timmy said, cliche, but Aloha Stadium will always be in my heart because that's where I fell in love with the game of college football itself. Love that. And same. And yes, Aloha Stadium, we need to, I was going to say, after what happened, the sigh, with the bill not passing legislation for that capital, those dollars to be handed over from one agency to the next. It looks like the stadium is going to be pushed back at least a year. So, that's going to be a challenge. But still, appreciate the stadium while we have it. Appreciate, the architecture. It's so different. It really is. Like what we have and the way when you walk around it, it's so different from any place I've ever been. It's really cool. It's something, it's maybe not made out of the best materials, but it's a cool look, and it's a cool aesthetic as well, and it's something that will be memorable in video games. When you always play NCAA on PlayStation and stuff, and seeing the stadium, and I think we need to appreciate it for the place it is as well. So it's a cool stadium. I know when somebody said it was a word, I was like, these people are dumb. They don't know anything. Don't listen to like random bloggers too. Listen to me. But somebody said it was like one of the worst stadiums, right, in their list of something, or blah, 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 clickbait, blah, blah, blah. But Aloha Stadium is great. Could be way better, though. Way better. Like, way better. But still, what it was founded upon and all, I miss those old photos that they used to have. Those were cool. But then they put it in advertising because, that's what happens. Kaveh says stadium. Are you saying stadium? He just stadium emoji? What's your favorite stadium, Kaveh? Let us know. I think now that we have come to this time of the summer and we're getting closer to the year, we're inching closer. I'm hoping, we've been talking about the issue of whether there will be a season, whether there will be fans. I think I can safely say I doubt there will be fans. Even places that think they can have fans, I think that if leagues try to go city to city, it just will not work, as they're seeing right now. players don't want, and the NFL players don't want any preseason games, and I think that will be a demand that will be met as well. So just a lot of new and exciting things to come in the world of sports, but we might have to wait for them for a while. So just be patient with me, guys, and hopefully we can get back into the stands. Hopefully we can get back into the air and fly to these places and have fun and do all those fun things that we'd like to do. But at the same time, we need to be very grounded in the science and the reality of the situation, and not be emotional about it, because there are people that have been affected by this for real, and the virus that is, and that needs to be respected and honored as well. Anything else? Who wants to say something in the comments? Just what do we have coming up? Anybody want to talk about any games that have coming up? We have some baseball fans looking forward to this coming year. It's going to be weird, I think, when the NFL has a champion, and or the NFL, the MLB has a champion, because the 60-game season will be something that is I think will be challenged a lot in terms of its legitimacy. But at the same time, it's nice to have something, right? It's nice to have somebody, some good news. I will take the time to report that the Angels' Shohei Ohtani, one of my favorite players as well, I got to be there for his first start ever at Angel Stadium, and he had a perfect game in 7 1/3 innings. But Shohei had 6 Ks over 5 equivalent innings in his last little tune-up. So he faced 22 batters and struck out 6 of them in an intra-squad game on Saturday. So, just amazing. He had a Tommy John surgery last year, so he had to recover. But 2 years ago, just really seeing somebody change the game on a new face. Of course, Asian face, which is cool to see, especially if you're from Hawaii, especially if you're part Asian, if you, are Japanese, from Japan or not. It's something that's a level of pride there, and I think he's been so impressive, and just as a pitcher, he's a great pitcher and a great hitter. He's just phenomenal. He's just super talented. Timmy says he should have been a Mariner. I thought he was going to be a Mariner. I thought, when he said he was going to the Angels, I was shocked. I was like, what? And I think it was probably because the Angels were the smallest kind of, not market, because I guess Orange County, smaller than going to the Dodgers or something, but smaller than the Mariners. The Mariners definitely, there's definitely a Japanese presence at every T-Mobile Park event and game, and that's why, for sure I thought Shohei was going to end up there. But Ohtani is definitely, one of the best players to watch, and super fun, and I'm excited. So, what we talked about as well, with the social protest, because a lot of players will not be, a lot of players will want to say something, and then Major League Baseball is one of those leagues that doesn't really have anything yet that they've talked about for players to be able to show any solidarity with Black Lives Matter or whatever movement that they want to do. So, but it's cool. All of the the leagues are taking it really seriously, and that is giving the players the avenue, giving them the platform at their events to make their statements. So I think that's amazing, and that's the best part. And there's a lot of good parts that are coming out of this for sports that we'll look back on this year and just be like, if we didn't have the pandemic, if we didn't take a pause, if we didn't get a chance to just reflect on all that we have and how we can improve, we might not improve, we might not get better. So I think Hawaii sports fans will get better, and we continue to get better every day, because even though we can't travel anywhere or have sports, just being able to connect with all of you has been really positive, and I hope something that I can continue to do myself personally as well. Kaveh says, watching UFC, boxing, and even soccer, there is still an excitement, even without a crowd. It's just an adjustment. Yeah, and I agree with that. Yes. So Kaveh, definitely right. You can, all of these sports, I agree. Watching the UFC, watching soccer, at a certain point, you forget that there are no fans. You just are watching the game. So, and they can distract you. Like I said on Fox Sports 1, they they Fox Sports 1, they piped in like with the music, and there's some sounds and even like reactions of missed shots, and it was pretty crazy. It was pretty good. So I thought that was really effective for them. Kaveh, hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. Timmy says, responding to Sean, they're finally doing it the right way and building their farm team up. Speaking about the Mariners. One of the best across the entire league before they trade all the young talent to the Yankees. So, yeah, I mean, that happens a lot. And you got to build your farm. The Angels are learning that, too, as well. It's important to build that farm. It's important to, have the strong next generation come up. Wow. Sunday. Hope everyone having a good day, a great Sunday, a good weekend. And we'll start from the beginning. I think on Facebook you can scroll back if you need to watch from the beginning. If you want to catch up on anything we talked about, from the NFL players tweeting out we want to play, and the players union backing their players and their demands, such as having no preseason games, a ramp up period. So the NFL still hasn't responded to that. So what that says, especially seeing players like Drew Brees, seeing the the preeminent players, the best players in the league, the voices of the league speak out, is really important, and something that we haven't seen ever. I think it's unprecedented in terms of the solidarity amongst players to bring about change together. So that's a great thing. In either way you look at it, I think it's better when we have a strong union that supports their players, and players that are there to use their voices and amplify their issues and societal causes that they want to support, and I think it's important. Timmy says Mike Trout or Griffey in his prime. Mike Trout. Mike Trout is the best. Ken Griffey would be hard to say no to, but Mike Trout is just crazy. He's on a different level. Like, he just does crazy things. And I mean, I don't say that lightly, but Mike Trout is just so crazy, and I'm just lucky to have seen so much of him play, and just his ability to, not have any weaknesses at the plate. Like, pitchers just, they can just try and hit different zones, but he's like good in every part of the plate, all 9 zones he can hit. So it's a scary part of Mike Trout. And the thing that I really love about baseball is that the stats are really synthesizable. It's like you can collect this data and numbers. Of course, I was a math person as well, so I enjoy the fact that we can, build arguments surrounding the numbers, which you can't disagree with, such as Trout and his WAR, right? And how good of WAR he has right now in terms of his win above replacement, and how many games he is responsible for, just for himself, his team winning. And it's pretty amazing. So, a lot of great things. But, with that being said, another summer day has gone by. We're inching closer to the season. We're all hoping, of course, that we'll be able to have a football season this year. But things are, looking a little slippery. But hopefully we'll check in on Wednesday and have a better update. And I know a lot of more conferences will be bringing up, releasing statements in the coming days, so definitely be on the watch out for those. There's still a lot of news that's going to come out. Before we go, Timmy says, I hate to say it, but I tune into Trout when he's playing. Must watch TV. Wouldn't it be so bad if he didn't play for a division rival? And I agree. But when you're a true sports fan, you can appreciate good play from anyone, right? Even your rival. That's what the part about being a sports fan. Part about just loving the game, loving the stadium, loving the fans, and loving being in that energy and surrounded by it. That's different. That's separate from the competition itself. And from that perspective, as a sports fan, you can appreciate anything good on the field. So, yes, you can always appreciate a rival. But with that being said, I hope you all have had an amazing summer so far, and we're looking forward to what's ahead. Check in on Wednesday. I know we'll have a lot more to share, so take care. Aloha.